Afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. And out here at the Pathfinder School in Southeast Ohio, we teach lots and lots of courses, almost 9 months a year, at least 3 weeks out of every month. We teach courses on basic, intermediate, and advanced survival. We teach courses on bushcraft, ropes and rigging, intensive navigation, wild edible and medicinal plants, and Red Cross certified CPR and wilderness first aid. Come join us for a course in 2025. And you can find our courses at selfrelianceoutfitters.com under the training tab. Now, to today's video. We're in the last video of our 5-part series on the top 5 short-term survival firearms. And I kind of caveated this with short-term because I didn't want to talk about homestead-type rifles, self-defense type rifles, things like that, or shotguns. I wanted to keep this thing in firearms that you could use short-term to gain meat sources. Basically, that's it, right? If you had to do camp defense of some kind, most of these firearms would allow that, especially from animals. But your mainstay with this survival firearm is to secure meat sources off the landscape. Most of what we've looked at so far has been fairly packable or break down in some way, shape, or form, and generally in the less than $500 range or close to it, okay? We've looked at semi-automatics, and we've looked at break open single shots and break open dual barrel guns like the TPS Arms Scout. Today, I want to talk about a firearm that you cannot break down necessarily, but it definitely belongs in this category. And I don't mind carrying one every day in the woods. It doesn't bother me a bit. And that's the good old lever gun, okay? This one is a Henry 22 Magnum with an octagon barrel, lever gun, buckhorn sights, with an enlarged lever, okay? This is a beautiful walnut stocked rifle. You can see this one has really nice buckhorn adjustable sights. You just pick up on the buckhorn and slide this for longer range shots. And you just need to kind of zero it in to see where you're at. I've got it set all the way down at the moment because I'm not shooting out past about 50 yards. So I've got it set on the very lowest setting at the moment, okay? And it's got a really nice front sight on it as well. A heavy metal front sight, not something you're going to knock off a break or anything like that. It's a very, very well-built gun. 22 Magnum is a very, very powerful round. It's underrated in a lot of cases. And in a short-term survival scenario where you just need to secure meat off the landscape, a 22 Magnum will kill anything you want to kill with a well-placed shot, no question about it. And it's a good longer range round than just a 22 long rifle. They are a little more expensive, but again, for that expense, you get more range. All right, so Henry 22 lever action. It is a cylinder magazine that you load by pulling the magazine out and loading it in the slot here, pushing the magazine back down and securing it by twisting it, and it holds 11 rounds in the magazine of 22 Magnum. Basically, there's no external safety on this gun. Once you've loaded the magazine, until you put a round in the chamber by operating the lever, the gun obviously can't fire a round. Once you've put a round in the chamber, you can't easily ride the trigger forward, but in a situation where you want a round in the chamber so that you can hunt, that's a quick and easy way to do it. So all you have to do is pull back the hammer and you're ready to fire, okay? Instead of having to operate the action, which may be a little noisy. Now, the action on these Henrys, very, very smooth. Very smooth. You can almost do this with 2 fingers, no problem. Trigger pull is sweet on this thing. I love this rifle. 22 Magnum over 22 long rifle, although I do have 22 long rifle, 357 Magnum, and 410 shotgun and lever Henry guns. I love Henry lever guns that much that I own 4 of them, okay? Plus the AR-7 that we talked about in the first video. So this is the second Henry making my top 5, but it's more the fact that it's a lever gun into the top 5 than anything else. However, in my case, if I had to pick a lever gun, it would be 22 Magnum and it would be a Henry rifle. So of course, when you're talking about these firearms, they all have inherent advantages and inherent disadvantages. So let's talk about first the disadvantages of this lever action 22 Magnum. First of all, packability. You can't break it down, so you're going to have to carry the entire gun. If you choose an octagon barrel, it's going to be heavier than a round barrel. I like the octagon barrel with buckhorn sights for traditionality. But if you choose the other one, it's a little bit lighter, okay? The other disadvantage to it basically is the weight. It's going to be heavier. Like I said, if you choose the octagon barrel, heavier than the round barrel, but heavier still than probably the other firearms we've talked about, okay? Lever guns are a little heavy, and they're made out of good heavy-duty wood stocks, which makes them heavy, but it also makes them beautiful, and it makes them pretty much bomb-proof. That's what I love about them. So what are the advantages to this lever gun? There's lots and lots of those, okay? Follow-up shot, right? Automatic. Your follow-up shot is within a second. If you need it to be, probably less if you're adapted to gun. I'm no trick shot master with a lever gun, okay? But I know guys that can rack off lever gun shots as fast as they can move their hand and hit the target every single time, okay? So they're that accurate if they need to be. The good thing about the 22 Magnum is, and the buckhorn adjustable sight on this Henry, is that you can take those shots that are out to 100 yards. And in Eastern Woodlands, we're talking about your area and my area, and that's why I chose these guns for my area. In Eastern Woodlands, where I live, you're not going to get a shot further than 100 yards. On a very rare occasion, you may, in an open, clear-cut pipeline area or something like that, or down a road. But for the most part, your shots are going to be 50 yards and in, and this thing is perfect for that. 22 Magnum is small enough that you're not going to mess up a squirrel or a rabbit if you're doing headshots with it, but you can take larger game with it if you need to. The other disadvantage to a lever gun rifle or a rifle over shotgun is foul, okay, waterfowl, or birds of any kind for that matter. You're not going to be able to engage them near as easy with a rifle as you could with a shotgun, which is the other big advantage of a shotgun in this category, in my opinion. So I wanted to include at least one lever gun in this because I think lever guns are important pieces within this puzzle of what am I going to carry as a short-term survival rifle. If you get used to carrying a full-length lever gun in this, and I say full length, I chose this particular one in a 22-inch barrel, okay? So it's 22 inches from breech to the end of the barrel. It's not a 24. I wanted the shorter gun so it's a better brush gun. It's easier to carry through the brush. Now, you could put sling studs on this thing, aftermarket, easy enough. You can carry it on a sling. I don't usually do that with this one. I just carry it in my hand, and then it's always at the ready basically when I'm ready to fire it if I see game that I need to engage, okay? It just makes it simple that way. Sometimes slings kind of get in the way. They tend to fall off sometimes depending on the sling. The rubberized slings that I showed in some of these videos are my favorite sling because they grip just about anything, even a whoopee jacket pretty well. When you lean over or something like that, they don't slide off your shoulder. But carrying the gun is not a problem. This gun doesn't weigh that much. It's fairly lightweight. I don't know what the exact weight of this thing is, but I'd say it doesn't weigh any more, if any, maybe a couple ounces more than the M6 Scout that we talked about, the M6 Scout clone by TPS Arms. So you're not carrying that much weight around with you, and it's easy enough just to carry it and not sling it. So those are really the advantages and disadvantages of something like this, as far as I'm concerned. The only disadvantage you have with this really is the weight. It's a little more costly. 22 Magnum is a little more costly than 22 long rifle. Obviously, you can't engage birds and waterfowl as well with this as you could with other guns. And, you know, that's really it. Everything else is an advantage to a lever gun. Follow-up shots, payload, 11 rounds in the magazine at one shot. All of that stuff is advantageous with a firearm like this. Okay, guys, that was just a quick last video in our top 5 segment on survival firearms. Remember, we're talking short-term survival firearms. The Henry lever action in a 22 caliber. This one has to be 22 Magnum, which would be my preferred 22 caliber for that application. If I had 22 under 410 or 22 under something else, then I would probably choose 22 long rifle. But for this application, with it being the only round you have, 22 Magnum is the better pick. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for school, for family, and for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys.